obviously, there were some who did very well in some way.
That's a new thought for me. I always thought in the Old Testament and in early days, men dominated everything. But, so how did women get wealth?
Well, first of all, you look at number 2, the second woman there, that's Joanna. It says, the wife of Herod's steward, Chusa. So in Israel, in the north, you had the Sea of Galilee, and at the time of Jesus' life, ancient Israel were divided up into different states or governing regions. So in the south, it had been, well, King Herod the Great had been the king at the time of Jesus' birth. When he died, Herod had been a collaborator with the Roman Empire, and so he was there as the main ruler over Israel for Rome. But when Herod the Great died, they kind of divided up Israel into 3 areas with 3 of Herod's sons. There was Philip up in the north east part, and then there was Herod in the north, Herod Antipas, which is the Herod we read about in the New Testament, in the northeastern part. And then in the south, it was the oldest son, and I forget his name. It was Herod Agrippa. It wasn't Agrippa. That's later in Acts. But anyway, he was disfavored by Rome, and so basically they created an alliance where they had a governor, like Pilate was the eventual governor, but then he would work in consortium or in consort with the chief priests of Jerusalem, and it was the chief priests who ruled southern Israel. And so Herod Antipas was up in the Galilee area. His headquarters was in the city of Tiberias, because Caesar Tiberius had appointed him the king, and he named his capital after the emperor. And so Chusa was his steward. That's like your chief of staff. So Chusa probably was wealthy because he was like the chief of staff of the king of all of northeastern Israel. And so her wealth could have been from her husband. But when I was reading about Lydia, because it said she was probably the head of her household, sometimes what would happen is that there would be people who were married, and then the husband would die, and then the woman would inherit that money, and she would then be a person of substance, a person of wealth. And it could well be that people like Mary Magdalene and the other woman mentioned here, who is Susanna, could have been wealthy widows.
Okay, so I always thought Mary Magdalene was a prostitute. So I'm wondering, how did she get her money? But then, well, I'm just saying, maybe she was successful.
So you don't know what I'm trying to say. She's a businesswoman too.
No, I'm just saying, what I'm saying.
The oldest business there is.
I never thought of her as being wealthy. I never thought of her as being wealthy. Maybe she was extremely successful, I don't know.
And